The mysterious death of a young athlete. What horrifying secret are the victim's relatives hiding? Don't miss the shocking investigation by the clairvoyants. Welcome to Psychic Investigations, a project of true and incredible stories. Here, people who call themselves clairvoyants investigate high-profile criminal cases and unbelievable paranormal phenomena. This 24-year-old man's name was Vadim Veronin. By profession, he was an economist, but he was into sports, workout, weightlifting, and arm wrestling. This video was filmed 6 months before Vadim passed away. He left home and never returned.
He left saying he'd be back an hour or two tops.
The young man's body was found on the outskirts of the city 4 days later, in an abandoned quarry.
The body was neck-deep in water, face up. According to the forensics, the cause of death was asphyxia due to drowning.
He was 30 to 40 centimeters deep in water.
A criminal case was opened regarding Vadim's death.
He just loved life so much.
He had so many plans. No one believes this.
The family is convinced Vadim was murdered, as they saw injuries and bruises on his body.
Judging by the number of bruises and hematomas found on him later, it's apparent there was a fight.
There was a wound down to the bone on his right arm. His legs from the top to the knees were covered in hematomas. He had more than 10 bruises on his legs, and there was something like a bruise or some kind of mark on his right side.
Only violent death. It couldn't have been anything else.
I think he was thrown down there after a fight.
According to the victim's parents, the police detectives claim there is no evidence, including characteristic bodily injuries, indicating that Vadim was murdered.
Vadim's parents say their only hope to find the truth about their son's death is to ask the psychics for help. Clairvoyants Ilona Kaldra and Olga Kalinova take on the case.
I sense someone pushed the man into the hands of death. I have the feeling that he was destined to die tragically.
I had a strange dream. If man I didn't know was holding an ancient book in his left hand and a dagger in his right hand. Then he started shredding the book with the dagger. And it wasn't an ordinary book. It was the so-called book of his life. The man was trying to destroy his past in this way. When I tried to stop him, he handed me the book, and it started burning right in my hands.
I'm looking at this photo and see the image of a man who decides the fates of others, matters of life and death. He's holding lilies in his hands. And I think the lilies are the key to today's investigation. Hello?
Hello. We've been waiting for you.
Please come in.
Vadim lived his entire life here. Now Ilona Kaldra is in his room. What will she sense?
I see your son sitting here and reading something. He was finishing his studies.
6 months before his death, Vadim received his degree in economics and started looking for a job in the field. Meanwhile, he worked in construction with his father and older brother.
Vadim was looking for a job, going to interviews.
I spent 23 years raising my son and teaching him. He was already a skilled specialist in construction and worked with me.
I see the place where your son's body was found. I see water.
It's not a lake or a river, but I see reeds growing around it.
It's basically a huge puddle, 5 or 6 meters in diameter, and dry reeds grow all around the shore.
His body was half in the water.
There must be some reason for what happened. It took quite a while to find him. 4 days.
When Vadim disappeared, they first searched among friends and acquaintances. Then almost the entire city was mobilized. The police only accepted the missing person report on the 3rd day.
We and our neighbors and his friends searched the fields, neighboring villages and towns. hospitals, and police stations.
We searched for him in wastelands, fields, and the woods.
No one could have imagined that Vadim's body had been in the abandoned quarry on the outskirts of the city the entire time. According to the forensics, the death occurred on the same day Vadim disappeared.
No one goes there. It's a deserted place, and
I'm having a strange vision. He carries someone in his arms and that person's back is injured. They discuss money, saying it can help. What is this?
it's about our neighbor. He got injured. There's a river nearby, and he dove and broke his cervical vertebra.
Local teenagers were swimming in the river and jumping from a rope swing. For one of them, 14-year-old Mykola, this pastime almost ended in death. Vadim helped save him.
Vadim went with his mother, helping carry him into the ambulance, supporting his back. The boy was completely paralyzed.
Doctors predicted that Mykola would remain disabled. Only a highly complicated surgery could save him.
The surgery was too costly for us. We didn't have such a sum, but Vadim helped all the time, in any way he could.
Vadim went to stores where he placed donation boxes with photos to collect the necessary amount for the surgery.
He visited me every day. He supported and helped me. He brought me sports equipment and told which exercises I needed to do.
Vadim saved Mykola, who is now all well and finishing school, while his rescuer died so suddenly and mysteriously. So, what happened to him on the last day of his life?
It's as if he's fulfilling some mission. If not me, then who?
Now I see an image of a man.
A clear image of a man's hand. A man's hand holding a phone.
This is your son's phone.
A man found it.
On the fourth day after Vadim Veronin's disappearance, a local man found a mobile phone at the abandoned quarry. The man showed where he found the phone. Vadim's cap was also there. His body was 10 meters away.
I didn't see him. I found the phone, picked it up, and walked away.
Vadim's body lay in the water. Tall reeds and dense grass obstructed visibility. Additionally, the body was not within direct sight of where his cap and phone were located.
The man didn't kill him. He simply found his phone.
Let me try to tune in to the day you last saw him alive.
It's freezing, it's snowing and raining. Oh, it's some kind of holiday.
It was March 8th, the Women's Day.
Your son left home in a cheerful mood. He was going to visit a woman. He had flowers in his hands. It seems he was going to see his girlfriend.
As it turned out, Vadim went to greet his girlfriend, Anna, on the Women's Day. They had been together for more than 3 years. After that, no one saw him alive again.
Vadim often visited Anna's house, and she visited his. Yet neither she nor her parents attended Vadim's funeral for some reason.
There were many people at the funeral, but neither she nor her parents came.
Vadim's mother shared that a few months ago, she had a strange dream in which she saw her son and his girlfriend.
He appeared to me in the dream, coming into the yard while the girl sat in my kitchen. He came in, and I said, "Vadim, we buried you." And he replied, "I was hit hard on the head, and I lost my memory. But now I've come to my senses." And then he pointed at the girl, saying, "What's she doing here?" Though he had never spoken rudely to her, in the dream she started justifying herself.
But what does all this mean? Could Vadim's girlfriend somehow be involved in his death?
Ilona, I want to go to Vadim's grave to speak to his spirit. I feel his energy in these flowers. He planted and grew them himself. He loved them very much.
These are lilies. He knew every name in Latin. There are plenty of varieties, and he knew them all by heart. He knew how to care for them.
Now, his mother brings these flowers to his grave.
We have more than 100 types of lilies, all planted by his hands. Every morning, he would go out to see which lily had bloomed.
I feel these flowers are somehow connected to your son's death. Perhaps lilies have accompanied him from past lives. Let's go to the cemetery.
Olga Kalinova goes to the cemetery with Vadim's father. Ilona Kaldra goes with his mother to see his girlfriend.
The girl knows something. Hello? This is Psychic Investigations. It's about Tatiana's son. We would like to speak with Anna.
This is Anna's father. He was away on a business trip on the day of Vadim's death.
What happened?
Your daughter was the last person who saw him that day. Naturally, questions arise.
My daughter isn't here. She lives in the city now. She moved out in June.
I feel she somehow feels guilty.
They broke up quite amicably.
It turns out that Vadim and Anna broke up a month before the tragedy. And there were reasons for this.
They meet while traveling, right?
Both of them used to commute on the same train for their studies.
He brought her home and introduced her to us. Vadim always treated her well.
They even went to the sea together for vacations. She was always at their house, basically. It was probably true love.
Could the girl Vadim loved and dreamed of marrying be involved in his death?
Could there have been unfaithfulness? There's a rival. Vadim saw his rival. He arrived in a car. I see a confrontation between Vadim and the man.
Once he came to Anna's and accidentally saw her come out of the house and get into this man's car. That's when there was a conflict between them. There are witnesses.
A week and a half before his death, Vadim caught Anna with her new acquaintance near her yard. A conflict occurred that escalated into a scuffle, after which the other man got into his car and drove away.
It was then that the girl said she no longer wanted to have a relationship with Vadim.
The police checked Anna's new acquaintance for possible involvement in the murder. The man has an alibi. At the time of Vadim's disappearance, and until his body was found, he was in another city.
I even sense from the mother that she blames Anna. But Anna is not involved in Vadim's death.
The police also checked Vadim's ex-girlfriend. After Vadim congratulated her on March 8th and left, the young people communicated by phone calls and text messages for a few more hours. But after 2 p.m., Vadim stopped responding.
Anna was the first to raise the alarm. She called Vadim's brother and initiated the search. Her possible involvement in his murder was not established.
Meanwhile, Olga Kalinova and Vadim's father arrive at the cemetery.
I'll try to establish a connection with your son's soul. I don't understand why, but it appears that your son was atoning for a sin, his own sin. But I don't see him doing anything bad in his life. On the contrary, he was very kind and compassionate.
Yes, that's true. He helped everyone he could.
I see an image of a man. He's dark, and he seems to be calling your son to the quarry. We need to go to the place where he died.
Ilona Kaldre also decided to head to the place of the tragedy. Suddenly, Anna's mother comes out of the house.
She knows everything about what happened.
What does all this mean? Could Tatiana know who killed her son? Suddenly, Anna's grandmother joins them.
Let your child rest in peace. How dare you? Why are you saying this?
Don't look for reasons here. Look over there.
Let's go, Serhiy.
I would have taken her to court a long time ago.
Who? Vadim's mother?
For all those things online, all the feuds, all the malice she's been spreading.
Since the beginning of the investigation, I'd had the impression that the parents were hiding something about their relationship with their son.
What's going on?
She won't admit her guilt. They often had conflicts.
In the family?
Because he had no job. He was 24 years old, but still unemployed and took money from them.
Vadim was quite an unusual person, almost as if he didn't belong to our century. He seemed to have a mission from past lives, which at that moment I didn't yet understand. His parents wanted him to be successful in his career, drive a luxurious car, and live well. But not everyone needs and wants this. They constantly pressured their youngest son, but he couldn't be someone else. He was delicate, almost like a girl. And this Vadim's passion for growing lilies was also not coincidental.
To understand what truly happened to Vadim and who's to blame for his death, the psychics go to the site where his body was found.
I keep feeling drawn over there.
The clairvoyants move toward the exact site where Vadim's body was found. They approach the hill where the local man found Vadim's phone. 10 meters away, his body lay in the water.
Ilona, he was right there.
Vadim was called here by some kind of mystical force. It's as if someone controlled him.
Your son came here on his own, but his mind was fogged. Now I understand. The fog was a dark, unclean force that surrounded Vadim and, under some kind of hypnosis, brought him here.
Could mysticism really be involved in Vadim's death?
I see images from your son's past life. I see another country. I think it's France. Your son is there. Beside him are some women who seem to have sinned in their lives. He takes something hot in his hands and places a mark that condemns the women to eternal shame, persecution, and torment. This mark resembles a lily.
He was an inquisitor.
Man I didn't know was holding an ancient book in his left hand and a dagger in his right hand. It was the so-called book of his life. And in this life, he was atoning for the sins of his past life.
How is this connected to his death?
After living a life as an inquisitor, committing many crimes and siding with evil, higher powers gave him a chance to atone for his sins in subsequent lives. However, unclean forces do not surrender captive souls so easily. In every life, they tried to tempt him so that he wouldn't cross to the side of good. If his life hadn't ended so abruptly, he would have overcome all trials and reached another level.
We never know who we were in past lives.
Does it mean that Vadim's death was the payment for his sins in the past? But how did he die? And who is involved in his death?
It happened very fast. The ground was slippery and he lost his balance, fell and rolled down into the water. And that was it.
But how could this have happened? He was an athlete. Why did Vadim fall? Why didn't he crawl out of the water? And why was his body so bruised?
Do you know how the devil tempted him? Your son almost didn't drink. But then he gave up and was desperate because you quarreled, right? You don't want to talk about it, but it's true.
We had a little argument. He raised his voice. I got upset. That had never happened before. I started crying.
He also quarreled with his girlfriend and, perhaps for the first time in his life, decided to relieve stress with alcohol. When you're drunk, your soul becomes defenseless, and unclean forces immediately try to take advantage.
He went to see his girlfriend and took a bottle of liqueur.
The gaze that pierced Vadim before his death, those were the eyes of Satan.
According to the forensics, Vadim Veronin's blood contained 2.5 promille of alcohol. For someone who doesn't drink, such an amount of alcohol could provoke an inappropriate reaction to events, as well as impulsive and reckless actions.
The evil force brought him to this hill, and then everything happened rapidly. It was slippery here. He couldn't keep his footing and fell a few times.
That day, it was raining and snowing. The ground and grass on the hill Vadim climbed were wet and slippery. Most likely, he repeatedly fell to the ground, resulting in the bruises and abrasions found on his body.
And stop thinking that someone killed him. No one is to blame for his death.
The slope of the small hill where his body was found is quite steep. It's entirely possible that, after reaching the top, Vadim lost his balance again, fell backward with his head toward the water, and rolled down. He swallowed a lot of water and couldn't get out. Hence, Vadim's death occurred due to an accident.
Over several lifetimes, Vadim's soul was being purified, transitioning from an executioner to a victim. In this life, he became soft, kind, nurturing, almost like a woman. He had nearly atoned for his sins. But when he was so close, the devil tempted him. Higher forces will give him another chance. He will be reborn as a woman and will be born into your family through your older son.
In this episode, the clairvoyants will try to find out what happened to Victoria Manovich, a 30-year-old beauty, a translator, and a Sorbonne graduate. The woman was found dead in one of Kyiv's residential neighborhoods.
Victoria's body was found here. It's a high-riser. She lived a kilometer away from it. Over here in another high-riser.
How and why Victoria ended up there is still a mystery, and it's truly shocking.
I received a text from her. "Hi, Mom, I'm fine." However, she was already at the morgue when it happened. How is this even possible?
Victoria's body was taken to the morgue on April 13th, but on the 15th, her friends and mother received text messages from her.
I dialed her, trying to get through to her for a long time, but then a reply came. "I feel really unwell. I won't be able to access the communications during the weekend. I'll call you on Monday."
We went to search for her on the 21st. She was supposed to be buried on the 22nd as an unidentified body.
Victoria didn't have her ID or phone with her. If she had been buried as a homeless person, nobody would have found any trace of her.
I made the final attempt to contact her on the 19th of April. I heard a tone. That is, her phone was still charged and working.
Only on the 9th day, when Victoria's phone went silent, her family went to the police.
Victoria's father lives in Rivne, while her mother lives in Italy, so her cousin was the one who notified the police of her disappearance.
They called me from the police and told me there was an unidentified woman at the morgue, and described her. From the description of the tattoo and clothes, I immediately knew it was her.
She was successful in her career. She worked as a translator at a large international company, lived with a man she loved, and most importantly, she was planning to marry him and have children.
She could be my wife and the mother of my child.
This man, Victoria's beloved man, is Alexei Volkov, a famous Kyiv fitness coach. The couple had lived together for about a year.
We planned to have a baby. She wanted a boy, while I wanted a girl.
They had plans for the future. They thought of the names in case they'd have a girl or a boy.
I was in Prague when I learned of her death. Can you imagine how anxious I felt, being all alone abroad? I'm ready to sacrifice all my resources to find who did it.
Dear psychics, I beg you to help me.
The best experts undertook the case: a Ukrainian clairvoyant, Jana Shulakova, and a British spiritual medium, Anna Galliers. The psychics are already listening to the woman's final audio record, a voice message she sent to her mother several days before she died.
"Hi, Mom. I'm going to come to Rivne for about 2 days to visit Grandma. I hope you're doing well. Kiss you."
I see a young woman in a room. There's a man standing next to her. He punctures her body with a needle, and I feel the scent of medicine. He's related to her death. Then he could be a doctor. He's strong and authoritative. Victoria isn't his first victim.
It's strange. I saw her on a high-riser's balcony with another young woman. They're of the same age, and they even look somewhat alike. We need to find out who wrote the text on behalf of Victoria. I feel that her phone is still in the hands of that person.
Victoria's parents and relatives are already waiting for the clairvoyants in the courtyard where her body was found.
We think she was murdered and then brought here.
Your daughter is so delicate on the outside, but she's got a character of a strong man.
Yes, it's true. If she was highly determined.
Victoria's childhood ended when she was 15 years old, following the divorce of her parents. Her mother went to work in Italy, and she stayed with her father, an ex-military officer.
She studied Slavic studies at the local university here in Rivne. She made her living by writing course papers for money at nights.
Later, as part of a student exchange program, Victoria went to France. This provided her with the opportunity to enter the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at Sorbonne University.
Who is Irina?
It's me.
Irina is Victoria's aunt and her closest relative after her parents. It was she who went to the morgue for the identification.
She bears a grudge against you. You saw something that could change the course of the investigation dramatically, but you didn't pay much attention to it.
A bruise and punctures.
I feel there was some substance in Victoria's body that made her feel disoriented.
Could somebody give her an injection of something?
Did they conduct a chemical examination at the police station?
The investigator didn't even view her case, and so she didn't order any extra examinations.
Your daughter's spirit says we need to go upstairs to the balcony out of which she fell. What floor did she fall from?
We don't know.
Come quick. Victoria's spirit will show us.
The clairvoyants ended up at the 13th floor.
She says it's here. Your daughter says she was here. Victoria was here.
I had a feeling that she was around us.
And in my vision, I saw another young woman next to her. Your daughter says she left you some sign. Look.
Ola.
Ola.
It turned out that the name of the young woman from my vision was Ola. She was very beautiful, dark-haired and fair-eyed.
We don't know who it could be. Could this Ola be texting you from her phone?
Who sent those texts? It wasn't a woman. A man wrote those texts.
This man has something to do with the woman that I saw on the balcony. Victoria's spirit says we must find her phone.
Do you know where to go?
The spirit will lead us.
I'll stay here to try to find out what to do about this Ola. I'll call you later.
Anna Galliers goes where she feels led.
The spirit shows me a colorful wall of a building. The picture is made up of little squares.
Is it a mosaic wall or what?
Yes, and there are flowers in the picture.
Zhana Shulakova stayed to work with her pendulum and the map of Kyiv.
My pendulum is showing 2 spots in different ends of the city. Let's go where it's closer. The picture matches the trees, tall enough but with cropped tops. And the building, a high-riser. There are plenty of lilies around it. Pull over here. I'd better get off and walk. There are the lilies.
The clairvoyant has found one spot, but where should she look for Ola?
If the women were friends, they could go to visit each other. The residents of the building could see Victoria.
In the courtyard, the residents approach the crew. One of them knows a young woman named Ola. She says she's a lot like the one in the photo.
She wasn't tall. Her height was quite average. She was dark-haired and very calm.
You're speaking of Ola in the past tense. Did she die?
It turns out that a lot earlier than Victoria did.
Victoria and Ola were similar in many ways. Both of them were successful, educated, and beautiful young women. They were somehow connected. But how?
Ola used to be the branch manager of one of the Kyiv banks. 6 months before she died, she received an invitation to work abroad.
My daughter was offered a contract in Austria. In mid-December, she called me and said she was going to Kyiv on business for a few days, and since it was a Christmas season, she was going to stay and celebrate the New Year.
But the morning after she arrived in Kyiv, Ola died.
Early in the morning, my wife received a call informing her that our daughter had been found dead under her apartment's windows.
Ola's death became a shock not only for her parents, but also for her boyfriend. We were quite surprised to learn that in the last year of her life, Ola dated Alexei, the same man Victoria began to live with later. In the meantime, the feeling brought Anna Galliers to the building with the mosaics she saw in her vision.
We're almost there. Victoria says there are texts with threats on her phone. They were sent by a woman with a child who lives in the first apartment.
Katerina lives in it. She has a son, Alexei.
Who is this Katerina? And why did she threaten Victoria?
Victoria's spirit says her friends know about the threats.
Our expert spoke to Victoria's friends. She discovered that Katerina was Alexei Volkov's other girlfriend.
This ex tried to return him. She occasionally reminded him of herself, trying to convince him to leave Victoria and come back to her, and so on. She also threatened Victoria personally.
Katerina started showing up with scandals. She beat on the door shouting, "Who is that? Get her out of here! I'll be waiting for her outside, and when I see her, I'll tear her hair off." I understood that she lived nearby. Nobody knows what a woman who is in love and has a wild imagination can do.
Did Katerina really get rid of her rival? Was she also involved in Ola's death?
Your daughter's spirit mentions Alexei. He didn't break up with that woman. He cheated on your daughter, and she learned about it.
She never told me anything about it.
There was a scandal, and the man beat your daughter.
They quarreled once when they were sitting in the car. I don't know the reason behind the argument, but he hit her in the jaw with his elbow.
Does this mean that Victoria and Alexei's relationship wasn't ideal?
Victoria says it's time that we know that on the night of her death, she was with Alexei.
But wasn't Alexei supposedly abroad when Victoria died? However, it turned out that he was the last person to see Victoria alive. It was in the apartment in which they lived together. Only later on did he go abroad.
The door was closed. I was taking a shower. She was walking around the apartment, dressing, and then she said she wanted to walk and was going to a store.
The man says he didn't see his girlfriend after that. He thought she probably went to visit somebody, so he went on his strip.
I managed to find several more of Alexei Volkov's girlfriends. One of them, Tetiana, was the daughter of people who are very well known in Rivne. 16 years ago, she was found dead next to a high-riser, just like Ola and Victoria.
Related to the same man died in a similar way. Our expert has found 2 more women who used to date Alexei. Fortunately, they're both alive. Maryna from Kyiv told her that after she refused to have a relationship with the man, somebody poured a bucket of paint over her car. The security cameras caught him. The man who did it arrived in a car that looked like Alexei's a lot.
He was waiting for the man who poured the paint, and then they left together.
However, it's impossible to wrap your head around the story that another of Alexei Volkov's girlfriends told us.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Asya met him in 2013, not long after Ola's death. She says that at the beginning of the relationship, the man behaved like a gentleman. But a year later, he turned into a beast, and full of jealousy, he once almost beat her to death.
He opened the door, telling me to get out. I started moving, and then there was immediately a punch of a fist in my nose. I fell and saw blood, and I remember the click. I realized my nose was broken. There was such aggression in his eyes that I understood he could kill me.
The woman says she was only saved by drivers that were passing by. After that, Asya told Alexei she was breaking up with him.
He threatened to pay a homeless man to pour acid over me, or my child, or that I would be raped, while he would be somewhere else to have an alibi. The first thing he did was warn me not to go to the police, saying he had many friends in various spheres, including the police and criminals.
Because of the man's threats, the poor woman was afraid to go outside.
I told my friends and colleagues that if I fell out of the window, they would need to go to the police immediately.
Victoria's spirit says the man was very cruel, so she couldn't find the courage to leave him. She feared.
It turned out that Ola, one of Alexei's ex-girlfriends, was also going to leave him not long before she died.
She was going to leave him, like Victoria. We called him. He told us that they quarreled, and Ola took a taxi and left his place at about 11 in the evening.
And the next morning, concierge who was on duty found Ola's body.
I feel there was some substance in Victoria's body that made her feel disoriented.
This is precisely what Maryna felt after Alexei gave her a strange chocolate candy.
He pumped me with drugs. He said his friends brought delicious chocolates from Switzerland.
The woman says that after that, she experienced memory loss. Then she woke up in Alexei's apartment.
I found myself in his apartment, partly undressed. He grabbed me by my hands and threw me on the couch. Then he climbed on top of me and pressed his arm to my throat. He was like a werewolf that turned into a monster.
But if Alexei gave Maryna drugs disguised as a chocolate, he could do the same to Victoria on the day of her death.
He is the doctor who gave her the injections.
Katerina Malichenko found the information that Alexei Volkov is a venereologist by education. He himself gave Victoria the injections that her doctors prescribed her.
Victoria says it was Alexei who sent you the messages after your daughter was dead. He has her phone now.
It turns out that Alexei hasn't returned Victoria's possessions to her family. The psychics decided to speak to the investigator who wanted to close the case.
If we managed to find the information on Alexei's background, why didn't you check him?
What do you mean? We did check him.
All the women died in the same manner. They were all wealthy and confident, and all of them were in relationships with Alexei. It's impossible that all of these were coincidences.
The clairvoyants in Victoria's family went to Alexei's apartment. Nobody answered the door.
We'll dial him and try to speak to him. Hello, is this Alexei? Tell us please, where are you? In Kyiv? Could we meet and talk? So, you mind? Why haven't you returned her belongings to her mother?
I'm not trying to hide those things.
Can I give the phone to her mother, please?
No.
Tell him to come over here, please.
So, you're quite willing to communicate through the investigator, aren't you?
The family is waiting. They want to see you and have her things back. Are you coming?
We must grab him by the scruff and take here forcefully.
So you are currently in Zhytomyr, am I right?
He said he was in Kyiv 5 minutes ago, but now he claims he's in Zhytomyr.
I feel that among Victoria's possessions that Alexei is keeping, there is her phone. The man used it to send her friends and family messages after she died.
This is all we can do here. We did everything we could in this situation.
Thank you.
Be brave. Be brave and finish what you've started.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sometime after the psychic's investigation, Alexei Volkov was sentenced to jail. He was arrested during an attempt to murder his next girlfriend. In this house in a small Ukrainian village, life seems to have stopped since the mother of the family, 33-year-old
The cause of death was a stab wound to the heart.
She loved her children very much, and she would never leave them alone.
We're shocked. They're such a diligent family. They have everything in abundance.
The victim's brother, Volodymyr, remembers the day he lost his only sister well.
I remember her tearful and smiling. She visited us in the morning, and I congratulated her on the International Women's Day.
Maryna lived in her own house with her husband, Vasil, and their 2 daughters, 16-year-old Nadia and 9-year-old Angelina. In the evening, the whole family gathered to celebrate. Maryna's brother and his wife did not join them and stayed to celebrate at home. All the known details come from Vasil's words.
They laid the table in the kitchen.
She prepared everyone's favorites to please them.
That evening, Vasil's relatives came to the Timovichs for dinner. The hostess stayed to entertain the guests until 10 in the evening, after which she put her younger daughter to bed and went to rest, too.
They said she changed and went to bed.
An hour later, Vasil went outside to smoke and found his beloved wife dead. The family called the police.
The investigator examined the scene. It's a private house. No one can enter the yard that simple.
What happened to the loving wife and mother if she had no problems in the family or at work? It is also puzzling why the woman went outside only wearing a nightgown. It was rather cold that evening, only 2 clothes. Is it possible that Maryna was taken outside by force?
She wanted to live. She wanted to be with us.
Could Maryna really do this herself? To somehow understand the causes of the tragedy, the family hired a lawyer. However, according to him, the police are behaving very strangely and are obstructing an independent investigation.
As a lawyer, I haven't been granted access to the materials to date. Everyone is turning a blind eye.
The police are doing nothing at all.
We are asking the psychics to help us.
Clairvoyant Yaroslava Fedorova took on the investigation of Maryna's death. The psychic is already working with the victim's photo.
For some reason, I see a picture of her kneeling, and there's something like a chain around her neck. And next to her, I see a woman with short hair.
The next morning, Olena Kurilova joins the investigation. The psychics share what they have sensed.
A man jumping out of a window. Lovers. It's an affair.
Astonishing news. Did Maryna really have a lover?
I had a dream of an icon last night, the Last Supper, and I saw Maryna sitting at the table. She was surrounded by guests. Next to Maryna sat a traitor, just like Judas was next to Jesus.
Does it mean Maryna was betrayed? But who betrayed her and how? The psychics go to meet her family, but Maryna's husband is currently on a business trip in the Czech Republic.
Hello?
Hello.
My name's Volodymyr. This is Nadia, the daughter of the deceased, and this is my wife, Mariana.
Mariana, pleased to meet you.
Hold this.
Something pushed me right in the shoulder. She's here. Maryna. Maryna's spirit appeared as soon as we started working. Maryna says, thank you for the children. She now calls you mother, Angelina.
Angelina is like my own daughter to me. Right after Maryna's death, she asked if she could call me mom.
The girls no longer have a mother, and their father has to stay away from home for a long time to provide a decent life for his daughters. Currently, Maryna's brother, Volodymyr, and his wife, Mariana, care for the sisters.
She says, let her be the mother. She trusts you.
She was a wonderful mother to her children, always doing everything for them.
I see flowers in Maryna's hands when she was alive. Red flowers.
She received a gift of a red bouquet.
It turned out that on the day of her death, Maryna was given a gorgeous bouquet as a present for March 8th.
What's her husband's name? She loved him a lot.
Her feelings were very strong.
First love for life, and she got married very young.
She was 16.
It's unbelievable.
I see 2 wounds, 2 knives, like some kind of betrayal. A traitor sat at the table with Maryna that evening. That person is related to her death. We need to understand who it is.
Maryna, show us. The cards show a love affair between a man and a woman. It's Nadia's father.
And the woman next to her is family.
Maryna says it hurts so much, she cries.
A shocking revelation. So, was Maryna's life with her husband not so happy after all? Could it be that the unfaithfulness was the reason? Who is the woman with whom Vasil had an affair?
You all know her.
People said he had an affair with the school principal.
Everyone in the village knew about this principal. She's Angelina's godmother.
Does it mean that Vasil cheated on his wife with the woman Maryna trusted so much that she invited her to be her daughter's godmother?
She nurtured a snake in her bosom.
She says she wants us to meet that woman.
The psychics go to the school where Vasil's mistress, Mariana, is the principal.
Hello.
Hello.
The principal won't come out. She doesn't wish to talk to you.
If you're not guilty of anything, you won't need to hide.
Of course.
Their relationship initially was purely professional.
It turned out that 10 years ago, Vasil worked at the school as a manager of the economy, and Mariana was his boss. Perhaps that's when their romance began?
She goes somewhere with him by car.
Yes, they used their car.
I saw them several times. Vasil was giving her a lift in his car.
Many people said they dated, but Maryna refused to believe it.
She always defended her family.
Meanwhile, Olena Kurilova notices the school principal at the back entrance.
There was a scandal connected with you and Marina's husband. Did you and him have an affair?
No.
Then why was Maryna so insanely jealous?
Yes, Maryna was, but we talked. I told her Vasil wanted it, but I refused him because I respected Maryna very much.
She didn't lie to me. She indeed never had a love affair with Vasil. However, the cards clearly showed that Marina's husband had someone on the side.
He had someone. I saw him talking on the phone with someone for a long time and texting a lot. Besides, and Maryna herself told me, he had another woman. Her name's Olha.
So Vasil did have a mistress, and Maryna found out about it?
Maryna even said she wanted to send him to work abroad.
Maryna understood everything. She sent her husband to work in another country to keep him away from his mistress.
According to the school principal, Vasil went to work abroad and thus broke up with his mistress. But Maryna died 6 months later.
Maryna says, find the mirrored doors.
It's their gate. She died there.
The psychics and Maryna's relatives go to the place where the tragedy occurred. Almost all the villagers have gathered near the Timovich's house.
This is the house where Maryna lived, and this is the mirrored gates.
Let me work here.
May I enter the house?
The past. A celebration. They had guests. A couple.
She looks that way. She's alone in the room, and she sees someone staring at her. She runs, but God! There was a knife here.
I see Maryna. Maryna runs. I see a man, and he meets her, and he seems hug her. Like this. Bam. An iron embraces.
But who is the man who embraced Maryna before her death?
I hear a scream and then... You're not going anywhere. You won't say anything. Shut up. Shut up forever. Roslava. He killed her. A man. A man's hand with the knife.
What fell there?
We heard a loud bang in the house. A champagne bottle fell.
Wait.
It's incredible. There was no one in the house. There were no drafts or pets.
It was a sign from Maryna.
Something is missing there.
Yes, the money is gone.
About $2,000.
So, a significant amount of money disappeared from the house. But why was the case closed as suicide then? Robbery seems to be a plausible motive for homicide.
That person took the money. Sit down, my dear.
Don't cry.
Our detective Katerina Malachenko along with the lawyer hired by the victim's family, managed to obtain the case materials. The information is shocking.
There were no fingerprints.
Detective urgently joins the psychic's investigation.
Katerina Malichenko.
Volodymyr.
A traitor sat at the table with Maryna that evening.
Do you feel someone leave through the door that night?
Through the front door? No one else left. She went out alone.
Who could murder her then?
If everyone was in the house and no one followed Maryna out, then the killer wasn't one of the guests. So, who did it?
I'm going to work with water in front of the mirror. I need to see everything it witnessed.
And I'm going to look through the fire. She draws me here. She stands here by the window, watching. And you know what she sees? Her closest, dearest person flirting with another woman on the balcony. Maryna knew her husband was constantly cheating on her. And of course, seeing him talking sweetly to another woman was the last straw.
A knife in the back.
It seems the family realized who the man could have been sweetly talking to in front of his wife. It was Svetlana, the wife of Vasil's brother. She and her husband came to visit the Timoviches that evening.
His brother's wife. He said he'd gone out on the balcony to smoke, but before that, he'd smoked in the house. I'm sure of that. He never went outside.
And Svetlana didn't smoke at all. I don't know what they were doing on that balcony.
Our expert decided to meet with Svetlana.
I'm a witness. I saw it all. It was by the gate. She had already changed in her robe.
No fingerprints on the knife when she was right-handed? Is it possible that Svetlana's lying and it didn't happen that way?
And then I understood why I'd seen Maryna on her knees with a chain wrapped around her neck in the morning. It was a clue. It meant that the woman was completely under her husband's control. Only on the last day of her life did she realize she wouldn't endure this humiliation any longer.
She's showing me. Here, the chain. Did the gold chain break like this?
Once he pushed her, Vasil pushed Maryna, and her chain broke.
I told her several times, "My God, Maryna, you have huge bruises. Where are they from?" She said she'd fallen, but she was beaten up badly.
Did Vasil, whom Maryna loved with all her heart, beat her?
She's shouting, "No, that's it, I'm leaving." And he grabs the knife. I'm almost certain that Marina's husband killed her.
So, was it her husband? You yourself said that no one left the house.
He didn't leave the house.
He jumped out the window. A man jumping out of a window.
Svetlana told me she locked them out on that balcony.
I asked him why she locked the balcony door. He said he didn't know. I think it's because she might have seen something she didn't want to see between Vasil and Svetlana.
It's not high at all. You can simply swing your leg over this parapet and jump onto the boiler room roof.
Sure, you can do that. Do you mean Svetlana also jumped from the balcony?
No, Svetlana stayed on the balcony.
It is invisible from the balcony, as it's on the opposite side of the house.
He thought she would get scared if she saw him with the knife because she was always afraid.
At the table, Vasil smiled like a demon and said, "I will kill you."
We heard him say that when he was drunk. He said, "Would the family forgive me if I killed you?"
He said he was tired of living the way he was living.
Nadia, did you ever see your dad drunk? What was he like? Aggressive.
Yes, he didn't even talk to Mom normally, but he always yelled at her drunk.
She always told me she wanted to keep her family together so the kids would have a father.
She was trying to preserve her family at the cost of her own life. That explains everything. His quick departure and by the way, the money that disappeared from the dresser. Where did it go?
We don't know.
Where? To bribe the cops.
I have almost no doubt that Marina's husband murdered her.
We'd like to thank you for helping us figure this out.
We need to talk to Svetlana because Svetlana is the primary witness.
Svetlana realized we won't drop this case. It will be publicized nationwide, and she might end up in prison. So, on the second attempt, she began to recall slightly different circumstances of Marina Timovich's death.
Svetlana, did you see the exact moment when she killed herself?
I only saw it when he shouted, "Svetlana, look, there's blood."
Did you witness the moment she did it?
No, I didn't.
After the investigation by the psychics, I and Marina Timovich's relatives requested 2 independent examinations. The injuries found on her body are not characteristic of self-infliction. The criminal case has been reopened. We hope the person responsible for Marina's death will be sentenced.
You to the bone. 3 young beauties died one after another in a small village, Zakarpattia, Ukraine. Millions of tourists flock here every year to admire the beauty of the mountain slopes. But on October 26, 2017, amidst this incredible scenery, the mutilated body of a local teenage girl was found.
The body of 14-year-old Ivanka Savuk was found in the river. Death was caused by internal organ injuries. The police investigators immediately opened a criminal case for intentional murder.
Her chest was crushed, and 4 teeth were knocked out. I don't know what or how it happened. No one knows anything.
The news of the schoolgirl's brutal murder quickly spread and shocked the locals. People don't understand who, or more importantly, why someone would kill the girl.
I can't bear the pain. I'd rather be lying there instead of my child.
She was very open, sincere, and kind.
She was very artistic. She sang and danced in the local ensemble.
Everyone in the village affectionately called Ivanka their little star. The young beauty dreamed of becoming a singer. However, this dream was never meant to come true.
It's so quiet in the house nowadays. No one laughs, no one dances. We miss her so much.
There wasn't a day she didn't say, "Mom, I love you." It's very hard.
The last person to see Ivanka alive was her elder sister, 28-year-old Maryna. On the day of the tragedy, Ivanka came to visit her after school to look after her 2 little nieces.
My husband went to work abroad. She helped me around the house and babysat. My daughters loved her very much.
At around 8 in the evening, Maryna asked her sister to go to the store to buy groceries. According to Maryna, the store is about 400 meters from her home, so Ivanka was supposed to be back in no more than 20 minutes.
When she went, Dad came over and asked, "Where's the little one?" I said that she went to the store and would be back soon.
Several hours passed, but the girl never returned home. The family immediately raised the alarm.
I called her, but she kept rejecting my calls. When I dialed her the last time, her phone was off, and then we rushed to look for her.
Ivanka was nowhere near the store. Maryna started calling all their relatives and friends, but all in vain. Ivanka seemed to have vanished into thin air. The people checked every corner of the village and questioned passers-by, and one of the villagers who lives near the place where Ivanka's body was later found shocked the family. She said she had heard cries for help a few hours earlier.
She was shouting, "Help! Somebody, help me, please!"
The police officers were surprised that the jeans Ivanka was wearing were completely torn.
Her pants were torn on her legs.
Perhaps the killer tried to rape the girl, which would explain why she had so many injuries and her jeans were torn.
The investigators worked through a number of different versions, but none was confirmed. The psychics are now the family's sole hope.
I beg them. I pray for them to come.
Psychics Olena Kurilova and Olga Kalinova embark on the investigation of the case.
I had a strange dream about Ivanka. She was asking to stop the oath that brings death. I don't understand what it means.
I also had a strange vision of a young man and a girl. He was holding her hand and she had a ring on her finger.
Was that Ivanka?
Yes, it was Ivanka. But the boy wasn't putting the ring on her finger. He was taking it off, and as soon as he removed the ring, she fell dead.
Could it probably be a serial killer?
The psychics head to the house where Ivanka lived. Her mother, sister, and concerned villagers are already waiting for them there.
Hello.
We are terribly sorry for your loss.
We would really like you to help us understand what happened.
Ivanka, who did this? The card of love. The murder has something to do with love.
The killer of your daughter is a man.
He's like a maniac. He won't stop. There will be more victims.
I wanted to understand where the girl's killer was. But for some reason, I couldn't get any information. This was the first time something like that happened to me. However, I felt that he had been stalking his victim. I sensed that before your sister's death, a man stalked both of you.
Yes, it's true.
Maryna revealed that, a few weeks before Ivanka's death, a strange man indeed stalked them. He was quickly following them, and at one point, he even started running. However, she couldn't get a good look at his face.
He was tall and dressed in black. He ran after us, and we barely made it home.
Wait, I sense that your daughter has been haunting you after her death.
I've seen her. I opened my eyes at night and saw her standing in the mirror.
She keeps coming to tell you about her death. To understand what happened to her, we need to summon Ivanka's spirit. Her spirit's here. She's standing next to you, Maryna.
I suddenly felt hot.
Mommy? I didn't want you to turn gray.
I went gray that night. When I saw my reflection in the morning, I didn't recognize myself.
Hold on. She's pointing that way. Was she found there?
Yes.
We needed to go that way. Olena, this is the place from my vision.
The bridge has some connection to your daughter's death.
They said that was one version, but they don't know for sure.
According to the family, one of the investigation's theories is suicide, as the injuries Ivanka sustained indicate she fell from a height. However, no one in the village believes she was capable of committing suicide.
I knew her very well. I don't believe she could have killed herself.
She was a believer and attended the church.
The local priest doesn't believe the police's version either. He refused to acknowledge it was suicide, and he buried the girl according to all church canons.
We need to check the bridge. The killer threw the girl from there. I see Ivanka here with a guy. They're arguing about something.
Stepan.
He loved her madly.
He cared about her a lot. And he even confessed to me once that he was planning to marry her someday.
I feel strong jealousy from that boy. There was a situation here, on the bridge, in which he simply lost his mind. He was yelling at her and threatening her. The boy keeps repeating the same male name.
Yes, it's Rolf. Stepan was jealous of my sister.
It turned out that the boy named Rolf also goes to the same church. That's where he met Ivanka.
We met when we helped our priest wife move things. Then we became friends.
Stepan was among the first people who the police suspected of Ivanka's murder.
They kept him at the police station all day long, and then called him back the next day for another interrogation.
This is what I see, night, darkness. And I see Stepan standing over your daughter's body, and there's no one around. What is that supposed to mean?
He phoned me and said that Ivanka was lying dead in the water under the bridge.
Did he say he found her?
Yes.
We need to talk to him.
This is horrific. Could the girl's boyfriend have murdered her so brutally?
Stepan, we're here because we're investigating Ivanka's death. You two dated, right?
Yes.
At that moment, the boy's grandmother came out to the psychics. It turned out she loved Ivanka a lot and dreamed that one day she would become her grandson's wife.
I was so happy. I was happy. They were planning to marry and live together.
Stepan, I feel that not only the police, but also the people suspect you.
You killed her. Did the people say it?
They did. Because of it, I can't even go to the church.
The cards told me that Ivanka's killer is a knight by the overturned chariot, meaning a young man who's connected to some accident. If you're not afraid, draw one card. The card said that Stepan was angry at Ivanka, and he was indeed torn by jealousy. But he would have never dared to kill. Moreover, I saw that he was sitting at a large table with many people at the moment of Ivanka's death.
According to the neighbors, Stepan was at home between 9 and 11 in the evening. And according to the forensic examination results, Ivanka died at around 10 o'clock.
Stepan is absolutely innocent.
Then, who is the young man who murdered Ivanka, and what is the strange accident he's connected to?
At that moment, I had a vision of the killer peeking into windows and seeing two girls. One of them was Ivanka, and the other was her sister. It felt like he was waiting, studying his victim, and couldn't decide which sister to choose.
Yes, it happened.
2 weeks before the tragedy, Marina's husband went abroad, and Ivanka was living with her sister at that time to help with the household and the children. But one evening, they were frightened by a strange knock on the window.
Something knocked on the window twice, and the curtain started moving.
But when Maryna ran outside, she saw no one there.
I'm still scared. I can't go outside after dark. I feel like someone is following me.
The card showed that the murderer was looking for a victim who resembled some deceased girl. But who was she, and who is the killer? I needed to work near Maryna's house. There's a woman's spirit here.
I'm having a strange vision of you lying next to this woman's dead body.
She says, I didn't mean to scare you.
That's my deceased mother. I was 9 when she died.
It turned out that Maryna is Natalia's adopted daughter. Her biological mother, Halina, died 19 years ago.
We were lying in bed together, me and Mom. And she had a sudden heart attack and died next to me in bed.
Her spirit is trying to help. She says the killer is like me. And she also says that we need to find another dead girl. She tells us to ask Yevhenia.
I am Yevhenia.
It turned out that Yevhenia is afraid she will die soon, and she has good reasons to say this.
People always told me that I looked a lot like Ivanka.
I feel that you see Ivanka in your dreams. She constantly warns about death. She says, "You are next," and shows you a fresh grave.
Yes. She said it was for me, and now I am scared.
The killer seemed to choose victims who looked alike. And at that moment, I saw another dead girl.
Nadia.
Dear God, was she also your friend?
Yes, she was.
4 years ago, Ivanka and Yevhenia's friend was found hanged in her own home.
It turned out that all 3 girls were from the same party, lived on the same street, and looked alike. And 2 of them died within a short period of time.
A man pushed her to death. Worst of all, his energy was identical to the energy of Ivanka's killer. Then I saw the spirit of another girl behind Yevgenia, the third victim. She looked at me and said, "He killed me too."
Yulia, my sister.
A death brought by the road. It's a car.
I see she wasn't alone in the car. However, only Yulia died.
Yes.
It turned out that, besides her two friends, Yevgenia also buried her elder sister. In 2016, Yulia and her boyfriend were going somewhere by car. The young man lost control on the slippery road, and the car went off the road.
But for some reason, she's holding her hands to her heart. She didn't die from the wreck itself, but from what she saw before her death.
Her heart burst.
It stopped.
She turned gray in a minute, right?
Yes. She turned gray.
According to Yulia's family, when her boyfriend looked at her after the crash, she was already dead. The ambulance confirmed she had a heart attack.
These deaths are all connected. There is someone who took all these girls to the other world. The cards say he killed them and is now hunting you because of his dead girlfriend. He kills those who look like her.
Your sister's spirit says we need to go to the bridge to learn the truth. Wait, she says we were on the wrong bridge. We need to look in another direction. Do you have another big bridge here?
Yes, we have, at the other end of the village.
Apart from the railway bridge, where the psychics have already been, the village also has a road bridge.
I see a beautiful young woman in a wedding dress with a slip knot around her neck. She hanged herself. She was the killer's fiancée. This girl took her own life. And you know her. She also looks very much like you.
Lesia. She also hanged herself. It was in either 2014 or 2015.
It turned out that Lesia lived on the same street as her deceased friends.
The killer is her boyfriend. Who did she date?
Ivan.
Hold on. He's indeed the murderer.
That's who's been killing the girls. We need to find him.
It's impossible. He's no longer alive.
Yes. Ivan crashed. He died in a car crash.
The young man sped and lost control. The car hit a pole, and he died on the spot. It happened right next to the road bridge, where the psychics are now.
There you have it, the night by the overturned chariot.
But wait! His death happened before all those girls died. How is that possible?
The cards say that the young man's death caused his fiancée's suicide. So he took the girls to the other world after his own death. Meaning Ivanka, Nadia, and Yulia were killed by his spirit.
A shocking revelation. The deaths of the three friends were caused not by a living man, but by his spirit. But why did he do all this?
When they were alive, Lesia and Ivan swore to each other that they would always be together. But this is impossible because his fiancée killed herself, and she is in another parallel reality. She is tied to the place of her death, and he is searching for her but can't find her. So we needed to stop the oath.
I had a strange dream about Ivanka. She asked to stop the oath that brings death.
He's looking for a fiancé, you see.
Ivan's spirit took your friends to the other world because they looked like his fiancé and lived nearby. Ivanka was the recent victim of Ivan's spirit. She was on her way from the store, walking on the bridge, and suddenly saw him. He seemed to reach out to her. The girl got terribly scared and stepped back to the railing, but she slipped and fell. Ivan is suffering greatly because so many girls have died because of him. We need to stop this.
I need to carry out a ritual. I summoned the spirits of Ivan and his suicidal girlfriend and briefly united their souls. Through wax, I transferred their oath of eternal love to a lock and then locked and sealed it. Then I buried the key in the ground. And sank the lock in the water so that no one could ever open it again. Now this oath is no longer active, and the young man's spirit won't harm anyone.
Thank you.
I feel a lot better.